Six Flags Darien Lake is my home park, and I've been going there for 2 years now. And I've ridden the roller coasters there many times. For example, I've ridden Ride of Steel 17 times, and I plan to ride it way more in the future. But what are the top 10 rides at Darien Lake? And this list will include roller coasters and regular rides because Darien Lake has only 8 coasters, and only 7 of them are rideable. But I'll just put Hoot and Holler where I would expect it to go. At number 10, we have Mind Eraser. And this is one bad roller coaster. At this point, most of you know that pretty much all enthusiasts hate SLCs. They are very rough, have terrible transitions, and are almost made to bang your head against the restraint, with one very big over-the-shoulder restraint. Many of the Six Flags parks back in the 90s got Batman clones, but instead Darien Lake got this piece of garbage. And I know that technically it was Premier Parks that owned them when they got this, but still, they could have added a Batman clone or just anything else in this. At number 9, we have Boomerang. Once again, it's another rough Vekoma from the 90s that should definitely be removed, like torn right down. They could even put a Super Boomerang in its place. I don't know if it'd fit, but it'd be cool. The one good part is that backwards loop, which is actually insane. I mean, I definitely believe that you pull 5.2 Gs there, and doing that backwards is crazy. And that's why it's not number 10, but the rest of the coaster is terrible. Especially the Cobra roll that throws you around and against the over-the-shoulder restraint. Coming in at number 8, we have Hoot and Holler. Really isn't much to say about this one because it's a very small kiddie coaster and I haven't even ridden it. I've asked about 5 times now, or maybe 4, but either way, I haven't gotten on it yet, but I'm gonna still continue to try to get on it in the future sometime. Number 7 is Viper. The sad thing with this coaster is that I feel like every year it just keeps getting worse. When I first rode it in 2022, I loved it, and it was my second favorite at the park. I definitely loved the ejector airtime in the first drop, which it still has, but I only remember there being a little bit of headbanging. And I only remember headbanging pretty much the only spot of it I remember being on that Batwing. But now, the Batwing seems to be way worse, and the entire coaster is headbanging. And the only parts that don't have it are the first turn before the lift hill, the drop, and the loop. And of course the mid-course brake run. Even the corkscrews have it, which I remember being really smooth before. I still try to enjoy it as much as I can, but honestly, if it keeps getting worse, then I don't know if I'm going to want to ride it every time now. Number 6 is Skyscramer, the park's star flyer. It's 240 feet tall and gives great views of the park. Something that people really don't talk about Darien Lake is the skyline. It really does have an amazing skyline, and more people should be talking about it. Something I love about Skyscramer is it's something that can do in between other roller coasters or right after lunch, because it's a really good break from the bigger thrill coasters if you're looking for an in-between thing to do. And like I said, it gives great views, but I couldn't put it any higher because it's just a Skyscramer and it's kind of slow and, there's no airtime or anything. Coming in at number 5 is Tantrum. It definitely has a weird name, but it's a good coaster because you get great ejector airtime on the drop, which is 97 degrees. And 1 second you're at the top, and before you know it, you're just plunging 98 feet down to the ground. It's a really cool feeling, like having the track bend under you, and you don't know what it feels like until you experience something like it. And that's not it. It also has some other good elements, like the twisted hill halfway through and the 3 inversions. It is kind of up for debate whether it has anywhere from 1 to 4 inversions. Number 4 is Moto Coaster, what some people call a family coaster, which I'm here to say that it's not really a family coaster. First, that launch is just completely crazy, especially with no back to the seat, because you're in the motorbike seating, so it's a lot different than sitting in a regular seat. And that just makes it even crazier. You get whipped down the launch track, and I don't know exactly how many G's it is, but it's gotta be over 1. And then that turn is crazy intense. Like, you get so many positive G's and you get completely whipped to the side. There are a few jolts. Mostly the most notable one is on that first turn when you first bank to the right. But besides that, it's a really fun roller coaster, and it's mostly smooth too. At number 3, we have Blast Off, the park's S&S shot tower. This ride is very underrated. I've heard people say this is one of the worst drop towers, and technically this is the only real drop tower I've ridden, but when it's this good, I don't see how that could be possible. You completely shoot to the top in like under 2 or 3 seconds. It's crazy. I was not expecting it to be this good, and I've only ridden it once, but I expect to ride it way more this season. Now this is when we start to get to the really good roller coasters here, because at number 2 we have Predator, the Din Wooden roller coaster that some people say is the worst roller coaster in the world, and they are completely wrong. They could not be more wrong, because either they rode it a long time ago or they just have bad taste in roller coasters, because this coaster has so much airtime and this restraint, like, I can get a good like 2 or 3 inches on it, so I'm flying out of my seat. And this new Titan track really helps, because I will admit there are a few sections that kind of bounce you around or completely jackhammer you if you're in one of the further back seats, but in the front row, this is like an elite roller coaster. And the Titan track sections are definitely the best parts. You get like really good moments of ejector airtime. And for this summer, they're retracking the hills in the second out portion of the ride, so I'm really excited to see how that goes. But obviously, what other better number 1 coaster is there than Ride of Steel? I think everyone watching this video knew this was going to be number 1. This is what I say is the second most underrated roller coaster, because you hear it called Straight Track the Ride or Forceless or any kind of wrong name like that. And anyone who calls it that is completely wrong, and they must have ridden it in the morning, because I will say on a cold day in the morning, it runs very slow. For example, I went during Fright Fest, and it was about 40 degrees in the morning, and I don't think it went over 65 miles per hour. And with the cold wind in my face, I could definitely tell that it was a very cold day, and I knew that it was going to be running slow. But later that night, I got some of the fastest rides on it ever, and they're definitely my best rides, because when it's at night and you're on that first turn, you feel the wind like whipping in your face. That feels faster than Millennium Force. I know it's not, but it really feels like it is. It feels like the fastest moment on any roller coaster I've ever been on. And not to mention all the ejector airtime moments, like the second hill and the ones in the end. The first major Camelback it gives good floater, but it can't compare to the other ones. And that first drop is definitely a weird sensation, because in the back row, it starts with ejector airtime, but then it turns into like a stomach dropping feeling similar to Blast Off, which I love because there aren't many roller coasters I can get that feeling on. So anytime I can, it's a really good thing. And I feel so lucky to have a roller coaster like this at my home park. And even if people might say that I'm unlucky, I don't think I am at all. Because those people probably have a roller coaster at their home park that isn't even close to being as good as Ride of Steel. It's an amazing ejector airtime filled and like very speed focused roller coaster. And also, I like the straight track. You really feel the speed on it, especially when it's 40 degrees out and you have the cold wind whipping in your face. But either way, I just love this coaster so much. And I don't know how long it's going to take for it to get out of my top 10. It'll probably be a while. But anyway, if you enjoyed this video, then please like, comment, and subscribe for more. And I'll see you in the next video.